And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com, www.galacticfriedchicken.com, for everything Galactic, including delivery right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop. All you got to do is go to the website or head down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up and save yourself 15% off of the tendies, the dunkers, the fried chicken, the slaw, the fries, the Galactic sauce, the whole 9 yards. Go visit our friends at Galactic Fried Chicken. It is out of this world. All right, Aaron, let's get this show on the road.
Let's.
I do have the NIT on. Indiana State up 5 on Seton Hall with 2.5 minutes to go. That's it's a really good Indiana State team. Really good.
They also can do whatever they want to do on defense, and they don't get called for any of it. So.
Oh, tonight was wild. Did you see any of tonight? They did it like
shoving?
4 times. He's just shoving Seton. The
center.
One defender is just shoving Seton Hall screeners out of his way.
Yeah,
like
two hands.
I didn't know that was allowed.
Like NBA Jam style steal.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Well, unfortunately, he's only like 5'8" and 145 pounds. So the guy's just going.
Still, he should put his hand on his face and see if he gets called. See if he gets called for the foul.
Do the big brother thing where you just like hold him at arm's length, and they're
absolutely insane, absolutely insane. The shit they get away with.
But they're good. I'll give them credit. They're good. So we tabled this last night. I think both of us have a lot to say on this, so we wanted to kind of give it its own platform. The Athletic yesterday came out with a story about a college football super league. It is being run by a group called College Sports Tomorrow, or CST. The two administrators that are involved are Syracuse Chancellor Kent Sverid, I don't know, and our old pal, West Virginia President Gordon Gee. And then they have, which is a little bit odd, the NFL's number 2 executive, Brian Rolap, the owner of the 76ers, a search firm that basically is like where everybody goes to get their conference commissioners, and some other folks that make up this 20-person group. Their idea is to basically take over college football, create 7 10-team divisions consisting of all of the teams that are currently in the Power 5. I guess that meaning you would also include Oregon State and Washington State. Mm-hmm. And then you would include SMU because they are about to join the ACC. And you would include Notre Dame. That would get you to 70. And then there would be an 8th division that would essentially be the group of 5. That would be 10 group of 5 teams. There would be promotion and relegation in this, but only in the 10-team group of 5.
Kinda.
Yeah. Like not promotion and relegation like you would think, where like if Vanderbilt stinks for a decade, you would see them drop down. No, the 70 teams, the first 70 teams would be protected. The last 10 teams would not be protected. There would be a 16-team playoff based on this, with each of the 8 divisions getting an at-large bid, and then 8 more selections made based on resume or ranking or what, I don't know, whatever system they decide to use. The problem this group is having is that nobody wants to talk to them because they are not associated with a TV network. And the folks that are actually, deeply affiliated with these conferences do not want to piss off Fox and ESPN because they are really the ones that are running the show. But you have read through it, Aaron. Mm-hmm. You say you have thoughts. So take us where you would like to go as we open this discussion.
Well, first and foremost, they're a little late getting to the party. And obviously they were trying to push this all through, or at least get to the conversation before the college football playoff extended their TV deal. At least that's what's being reported. But if you had been able to have this conversation, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago, with everybody, at least before the NCAA gave the Big Ten and the SEC
like ultimate power,
controlling power, then yeah, you might have been able to get some of those meetings or dinners that have been canceled, as opposed to just the way it's gone. But I think that because you waited so long, that was part of the issue of getting this out and running. I think that this has a good skeleton for what you could use. But when you start talking about things that have made the NFL successful, largely parity, you run into some issues with that when you are granting certain teams more money in this whole situation. You're granting
allegedly. We don't know that for sure yet, but
that's again how it's being reported.
Yeah,
At least according to the article, you'd be giving some teams more money than you would be giving other teams, which is also what we've seen fail in conferences as they currently exist. When you give teams more share of the pie.
Yeah, but there are conferences that make more than other conferences.
Correct, but you don't often see teams in those conferences,
right?
Because it doesn't work out. It doesn't go well.
It was tried with Boise State, and it's been an abject failure.
Right.
With that league trying to do everything they can to hold on to Boise State, which is funny because nobody wants Boise State. So
I think what you're going to see happen is you're going to see if the NCAA loses this big case that's out right now for all of the players who didn't get the money from the NIL, which is in courts right now.
Like they want back pay, essentially.
The NCAA will ultimately just go away.
They'll go bankrupt.
Correct.
Because they won't have the money to pay the billions of dollars in back pay for every player that should have gotten NIL money in the history of the NCAA prior to the opening of NIL.
which will be a giant, huge mess. And that's a different conversation for a different day. I think what you're running into, though, here is the fact that the NCAA is doing what it always does, and they are constantly just kicking and screaming about any type of change, anything that rocks the boat, and they are always reactive instead of proactive and thinking outside the box, thinking radically. And I think that it's ultimately going to be what leads to the demise of the NCAA is too many old heads that are resistant to change. It's kind of like we've seen it with baseball. Baseball fell behind everybody because they were so resistant to change. Now baseball is probably the most exciting it's ever been, but it's only because they were able to start doing things that were different and taking some swings, if you will, that have.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, that's fine. Some have landed, some have missed, and they go back and retool. But the NFL has never been afraid of doing these things that have been a little outside the box, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they retract, sometimes they move forward. But I don't know. Those are just my initial thoughts on this whole situation.
One of the other things that was talked about with this is that it would open the door to creating a union and collective bargaining within the 80 schools. Like part of it, I guess you would have to agree to collectively bargain with your players and create a players union and create revenue sharing and, essentially salaries, which what's coming eventually. Trade
employees. Sure. But that's how you corral
trades.
But that's how you corral we've talked ad nauseum about the fact that the scheduling has to be the way that it currently is, because you can't try and stop them from contacting kids, and things get out of control. There's too many schools and all of that. But you'd be able to have a governing body in charge of some of the rules in that regard if you had that. But these kids at the end of the day, they are, let's call a spade. They are employees. without being
Sure.
recognized as employees. They deserve benefits. They deserve to have the things that state workers get at these universities that they're not getting because they're not recognized as state employees. But
Because the schools aren't paying them, the fans are.
which is asinine. Asinine.
And at the 11, I'll steal a Stephen A. Smith line there. It's ludicrous. Um, I don't hate the general guise of all this. I still think that, are you going to get like the SEC to like the SEC is going to give up being SEC football? No, I don't think that that's going to happen. The Big Ten is going to give up being Big Ten football. No, I don't think that's going to happen. So you're also the other thing that has always been a concern, and this starts with the SEC and the Big Ten. You are dealing with universities who have missions and goals, and I know now the only goal is let's see how much money we can make off of college sports. But when you're getting, and I guess some of this doesn't matter as much anymore with the way realignment has kind of dumped everything upside down, but you're going to get schools from the Pacific Northwest who have the same values and ideas and beliefs as schools from the Deep South when it comes to college athletics. Like, I think that is still something that is very real because you're still dealing with presidents and chancellors and schools and athletic departments. And I know we're almost to a point now where the money has gotten so big that everybody has just said mission statement. Nah, we'll revise that. Those are just words.
Well, I mean,
Did you
if
see we can cash a $75 million check by going to the Big Ten?
You want to start with mission statements?
Yeah.
You want to start with mission statements? Start with the NCAA's mission statement, where they claim that they stand for the student athlete.
Stand on the student athlete. That's
on
what
their
they
head.
meant. They forgot a word. They spelled on FOR instead of ON. Stand for the student athlete. Actually, we stand on the student athlete. It's fine.
It's like the WWE with one foot on them flexing.
Yeah,
they're laying sprawled out on the ground.
Poor student athlete. But let's humor this idea a little bit, Aaron. The Athletic also came out today with what some of this would look like. You want to hear what this would look like for Cincinnati, Aaron?
But before you get to that, I do want to offer this thought on this relegation ridiculousness that you're only going to let 10 kids come to the cool kids table in this one, in the group of 5. Everybody else is guaranteed to stay forever, but you're going to let 10 kids sit at the cool kids table.
And then every year you're going to kick a couple of them out,
right?
And bring in new kids to pick on.
Meanwhile, you got teams like Vandy, who's been hanging on to the coattails for God knows how long, or Rutgers,
Indiana,
doing the same thing. Yeah, sure. Name whatever conference you want. There's one or two in every conference where you're wondering just how you even got there.
Right. Yeah, that part is hilarious. Like, okay, we're gonna take everybody's great idea and do promotion relegation, but not for us. Not for us. For them. We'll let them have 10 kids at the cool table, and then every year we'll pick. And the funny part about that is the way college football works, the teams that play their way up are going to be teams that are going to get hit by graduation heavily almost every time because they've built up, this senior laden team, and boom, they win and they jump up into the big league, and then they're decimated either by graduation or
because their kids are getting picked off by the other teams that are in the 70.
Right. Oh, you guys had a great year. Your quarterback looks great. I wonder how he'd look in Crimson Tide. What are
we doing?
They can't get out of their own way. I mean, that's the problem, was we're so far down the road. with this crap that they've ruined so much of it that I don't know
Because
how
they
you put the
refused
toothpaste back in the tube.
because they refused to do anything over the course of the last 20 years.
Yeah. All right. How about this for the old Big East comes back, Aaron? And these would be the 10 teams that the Athletic is proposing for Cincinnati's place in this Super League. Cincinnati, Louisville, Notre Dame, West Virginia, Miami, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Rutgers, Syracuse, and Pitt. Does that sit well with you?
Yeah, there's plenty of rivalry games there. It's renewed rivalries with Louisville, West Virginia. We've seen some of that this year, but it didn't feel the same with West Virginia.
Pitt, Virginia
Pitt,
Tech, I think, could be a good rivalry for Cincinnati, like it was in the past. You could kind of bring that one back. The U would be fun to have in there.
I agree.
Boston College, Rutgers, Syracuse, kind of your I guess what people would see as your whipping boys, the way that those programs have operated over the past decade plus. But I mean, I think all of us would say if there's a situation where Cincinnati could be with Louisville, West Virginia, Pitt, and I mean, awesome if you get, especially in college football, if every other year you're going to get Notre Dame and Nippert Stadium, that would be outstanding. As well as on the opposite years, the Bearcats would get to go claim
North Bend,
Cincinnati,
South Bend,
Cincinnati North, like they did a couple years ago. I think that would be the perfect scenario if you're Cincinnati in this thing. So yeah, I'd be all for like that iteration of what it would look like.
If you win up there, do you get to start calling it North Bend?
Yes, I think you do.
Yeah.
I think you do. I guess here's a question. Would you flip out Miami for UCF?
It's a good question. Looking at it, I mean, truthfully, I'd probably flip out Boston College for UCF.
Yeah, I just don't know where you'd stick Boston College if you did that.
Into that weird conference where they just threw everybody.
The frequent flyer division that's got Missouri, Kansas State, Kansas, Utah, Iowa State, Northwestern, UCF, Nebraska, BYU, and Colorado.
That's the one. Here's my reasoning though. There's no other Florida school in there. So at least in our division, you could.
Essentially, you would just be trading Miami for UCF.
No, I'm saying, well, with Boston College, if you had Boston College.
Yeah. But there's not anything in the Northeast in that, like anywhere close to the Northeast in that division. At least
if
you're a lot of middle states: Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, Utah, Nebraska, Colorado. Like they're all in the same general vicinity.
If you were smart in doing this from the top, you would probably put regions together, though, not just based on, oh, well, these people were the founding Big Ten teams, right, so we got to put them all together. That doesn't. Yeah.
It would be interesting. I mean, like I said, I would probably just swap out UCF and Miami and let Miami have their way with the Midwest division. Would you rather, I guess here's the other thing. Would you rather be in that division or to find, and it's the Big Ten division is all Big Ten teams, but to find yourself in a division with Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, Wisconsin, whatever. I guess maybe Minnesota would be the outlier
if
geographically in that group.
If the dollars were the same, being spread out to every team, then sure, put me in whatever division. It wouldn't matter. But that's not the way that any of this will ever go down, because God forbid Ohio State was on an equal playing field with anybody else.
You know what, though? That's actually a pretty good point, Aaron, because in that Big East division, I don't think there's anybody that Notre Dame would get probably more. But they've been doing less with more for a century.
Sure. Yeah. But I don't know. It just, this whole ridiculous, like when you look at the Big Ten division in this, you're not even lining up the divisions fairly.
Yeah.
You're top heavy as things currently stand. You're top heavy in plenty of divisions. And I'd be curious as to what the punishments would be if you were to
there will be no punishments.
You would have to have some type of punishments if you were tampering, or if you were, it would come down from the head of whoever was running this entire thing. But if you were paying kids under the table and it was found out, or not being on the up and up with
that's not gonna, so that cat is out of the bag forever. You're going to be able to pay them whatever the hell you want, even with collective bargaining. You're going to be able to get NIL money to these kids through boosters regardless.
Right. But, well, at this point, I wouldn't know if I don't know if you would actually have boosters supporting the program if they were being paid paid as employees of the state. No, you wouldn't.
Aaron, you're telling me that people from Alabama wouldn't still give to an NIL collective, even if the employees were, or the student athletes were employees and being paid by the school, and then it's presented as name, image, and likeness. We've already know the courts are going to favor the athlete, so they are still going to be able to get money for those things, even if they are employees of the university.
Well, at that point, it's not NIL collective. It's not NIL anything. It's just somebody giving you money for doing a commercial or going out and running a promotional ad, the same as any other athlete who does anything does.
I don't think you're going to be able to put the NIL collective toothpaste back in the tube. Also, I know I've used that like 3 times, but it's because they've let so many things just like, uh-oh.
The NCAA did this to themselves, and it's going to be a giant catastrophic mess over the course of the next decade.
Try to clean up. Yeah. It's interesting. I don't think this particular iteration is going to make
this ain't it.
No. But guess what? People are going to keep trying, and eventually something is going to stick. There's going to be enough shit thrown against the wall that something is going to stick.
Something's going to have to happen when the NCAA is sued out their ass to where they don't exist anymore.
And they go bankrupt and can no longer exist. Yeah. Before we go, it's been a year today. I'll leave it at that so I don't break down. Miss you, Kel. We'll see you next time. That's the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken. Right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!